watching Primetime News here on TV1 live from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Bringing you the news this evening, I am Stevin Machado.
And I am Hashini Papirana. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
The headlines on Newsfirst.
Sri Lanka marks 17 years since war victory. National commemoration event tomorrow. Vimal Weerawansa accused of assaulting a police officer. Fonseka claims opportunists are exploiting war victory to fuel division. Central Bank chief defends economy, links rupee pressure to global factors. Opposition leader rejects new laws targeting tax defaulters. Will rainfall increase again from tomorrow? Bodies of remaining 4 missing Italian divers found.
A nation that once stood united, fighting together for freedom with a single purpose. Yet, within a short period after independence, divisions began to emerge as different groups sought power for their own interests. Through calculated strategies that deepened divisions among communities for political gain, the country was ultimately led into a brutal war that lasted nearly 3 decades. That conflict pushed the nation and its people backwards, claiming an immense number of lives. It was a war where national leaders, politicians, intellectuals, journalists, professionals, and thousands of innocent civilians paid the ultimate price. Today marks 17 years since the end of that devastating conflict. 17 years have passed since the cries of grief that echoed across villages and communities began to fade. For years, mothers lost children, children lost parents, and families lost their loved ones. As we look back over these 17 years, we must ask ourselves, what have we truly gained and preserved? A nation that once celebrated victory with a united voice, how did it, within a few years, face such severe challenges and setbacks? Is today not the moment to reflect deeply, to learn from our past, and to think again about how we can rise as one nation for the future? Above all, we pay our deepest respect to those who stood on the front lines, the members of the Tri-Forces, the police, the Civil Defence Force, as well as the public servants and medical professionals who served during that difficult time to protect the country and its people. To all of them, we offer our highest tribute.
The National Victory Day commemoration is scheduled to take place tomorrow afternoon.
The commemoration event, which is being held for the 17th year, will be held under the patronage of the President.
This year's National Victory Day commemoration ceremony will commence at 3 p.m. tomorrow in front of the War Heroes Memorial in Battaramulla. Chairman of the Ranaviru Seva Authority, Brigadier S.B. Kohana, said at a media briefing held at the Department of Government Information that for the first time relatives of fallen war heroes from the northern and eastern regions will also join the commemorative event.
As the Ranaviru Seva Authority, our primary objective is to provide maximum opportunities for war heroes and the family members of those who sacrifice their lives for the country. Therefore, we have significantly increased the participation of war hero families compared to previous years. There is another special aspect as well. More than before, we are recognizing a group of Tamil and Muslim war heroes from the northern and the eastern regions who fought alongside the Tri-Forces and contributed to securing the country's freedom. In the past, past, their representation has been relatively limited. As a result, we have created a special opportunity this time to include the relatives of fallen war heroes from the north and the east in this event. Approximately 1,000 invitations have been extended and arrangements have been made to ensure their participation.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa attended a commemorative event organized by the All Ceylon Buddhist Congress.
අතවශ්‍යම අද දිනේ සමරන එක ගැන මම තාම සන්තෝෂ වෙනවා. මොකද රණවිරු රට බේරා දුන්නා. ඒක සමරන යුතු ඒක අමතක නොකළ යුතු දිනයක් අද. අද රටේ තත්ත්වයට එක්ක බැලුවොත් ඒ අවුරුදු 18ක් කියන්නේ වසර ගණනාවක් ජයග්‍රහණයත් එක්ක තාම ඒක රටක් තියෙනවනේ. අනි රටක් තියෙනවා තාම.
Venerable Bengamu Nalakathero, who also expressed views on the occasion, stated that Mahinda Rajapaksa is deserving of the Nobel Peace Prize.
I personally do not place much importance on the Nobel Prize. However, the world recognizes it as a highly prestigious award. A recognition of that nature should have been awarded to our leader. However, the powerful and widespread influence of Tamil separatist terrorism, which extended globally and still exists in certain forms, did not allow that to happen. We are not inviting him to return to power in governance, but if such a situation were ever to arise, I firmly state that it is only a leader like Mahinda Rajapaksa who is respected across the world and who would have the ability to eradicate such globally spreading forces of terrorism.
පුරුෂයාට පමණයි කියන එක වගකීමෙන් යුතුව මම මේ වෙලාවේදී ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
Leader of the National Freedom Front, Vimal Weerawansa, allegedly assaulted a police officer during an incident in Sri Jayawardhanapura Court today.
मेरटे मिनिस्टुන්ට හෙන ගහනවා මේ වගේ කාලකන්ණි පාලනයක් මේ රටේ ඡන්ද බලෙන් පත් කරුවත් ඕගොල්ලෝ අයින නම් මෙතන මල් ටික තියන්න මෙතන මල් ටික තියන්න මෙතන බැරියයි අපි දැන් මෙතනට ආපු එකේ ඇයි බැරි ජනාධිපතියගේ වටර එකක් ඕනේ මෙතන මල් ටික තියන්න ඉන්නවා අර පොලිස් පොතියෙක් ඒක හොඳයි කුඹුරේ ගිහිලා හිටවන්න.
Meanwhile, Weerawansa also intervened to forcibly secure the release of an individual who had been taken into custody for allegedly obstructing police duties. Later in the day, the police media division announced that steps would be taken to initiate legal action against Vimal Weerawansa and others involved in the incident. Former Army Commander Field Marshal Sirasa Fonseka shared his views with Newsfirst today, 17 years after that victory.
We truly feel a sense of relief even today when we think about the duty we carried out 17 years ago to protect the country, the nation and all communities. There is a deep sense of satisfaction. When reflecting on it, there is a humble pride. At the same time, achieving that victory came after continuous fighting for 2 years and 9 months. During that time, 5,200 soldiers from the Army and Navy alone sacrificed their lives. I believe there were also casualties from other forces, though perhaps not in such large numbers. We must honor all those who made these sacrifices with great respect. On a day like today especially, we must pay tribute to them with reverence. Their loved ones, families and relatives also bore the weight of these sacrifices. We must extend that respect and gratitude to all of them as well.
Field Marshal Fonseka also expressed his views regarding attempts by certain groups to create instability again.
Politicians have always attempted to mislead the people and present themselves as saviors of the nation. At times our people have been misled. Individuals like Vimal Weerawansa, along with others who shared similar political platforms, fall into that category. While we were fighting the war, while soldiers were making sacrifices, and while their families were facing immense hardship, these individuals did not come forward. They did not show empathy. They did not donate blood, nor did they even provide basic support such as water to the soldiers. There are family members who suffered due to the sacrifices made by our war heroes. Yet even for them, these individuals showed no meaningful concern. They are purely opportunistic. Even at this moment, they are attempting to gain political advantage from the victory of war heroes. Leaders who guided them failed to ensure justice for war heroes in the past, but instead used the situation for their own benefit. This is yet another such attempt. These activities could increase in the future. We respectfully urge the public not to be misled again. These individuals are trying to reignite divisions. If people fall for such actions, it is the public who will suffer and the nation that will be harmed. Therefore, the public must understand this clearly and reject such efforts if we truly take pride in the security and unity of our country.
Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe pointed out that the depreciation of the Sri Lankan rupee against the US dollar is a direct impact of the crisis in the Middle East. He stated that the collapse of the rupee in 2022 was due to factors specific to Sri Lanka.
Now, the governor made these clarifications while speaking at a conference held today.
According to data from the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the selling rate of the US dollar today stands at 334 rupees and 26 cents. On the 31st of July 2023, the dollar selling rate stood at 335 rupees and 40 cents, and it has now approached a similar level. What is the reason for this situation? Here is the explanation from the Central Bank Governor.
At present, we do not observe a significant internal pressure on the rupee. This situation is mainly driven by the Middle Eastern crisis, particularly the increase in oil prices due to conflict conditions. As a result, foreign exchange expenditure on fuel and related imports has risen, leading to an increased demand for dollars. As we all know, exchange rates are determined by demand and supply. When demand increases, some level of depreciation naturally occurs. If we compare with other countries similar to Sri Lanka, especially those that depend entirely on importing fuel, we see similar trends. For example, the Sri Lankan rupee has depreciated by around 4.8% this year. The Indian rupee has depreciated by 6.4%, the Nepalese rupee by 6.2%, the Indonesian rupiah by 5.2%, the Philippine peso by 4.7%, and the Thai baht by 4%. This clearly shows that the depreciation is not unique to Sri Lanka, but is a global trend affecting similar economies. In contrast, the significant depreciation seen in 2022 was due to factors specific to Sri Lanka and not global conditions.
Further clarifications were also made regarding the recent increase in taxes on vehicle imports.
Yesterday, the government announced an increase in taxes on motor vehicles to temporarily control imports. This is a preemptive measure taken to reduce potential future risks. If we observe signs of increasing uncertainty, there are various steps we can take to prepare. Within the first 3 months of this year alone, around $600 million worth of vehicle imports took place. If this trend continues, it could reach approximately $2.4 billion within the year, which would exceed last year's figures. Based on earlier projections, imports this year were expected to be lower than last year. However, current trends suggest the total could match or even exceed those projections. We projected less than $2 billion for vehicle imports. At present, it does not appear that this would negatively impact government revenue.
What is the current state of the country's foreign reserves?
By the 27th of this month, around $700 million will be added to our reserves following the approval of the 4th and 5th tranches from the International Monetary Fund. In addition, by July, Approximately 250 million US dollars is expected from the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank under ongoing programs. Along with these inflows, we are taking precautionary measures to manage risks, and reserves are being maintained at a stable level.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa says that provisions included in the Inland Revenue Amendment Act relating to enforcing the law against those who default on tax payments should not be implemented. Here is his explanation on the matter.
There can be various reasons for a delay or failure. Someone may simply forget, someone else may be ill, another person may be overseas. These are not deliberate acts. However, the government is now attempting to introduce legal provisions that criminalize non-compliance within the tax administration system, even when such failures arise from negligence rather than intent. We believe this is a violation of fundamental rights and human rights. There is also no sense of proportionality in these measures. The eagerness to collect taxes has gone to such an extreme that the policy is now being enforced through threats of imprisonment. We cannot agree with actions taken to that extent. This is against democratic principles, and it is also a violation of human rights and fundamental rights.
The opposition leader made these remarks while addressing a media briefing at the Samagi Jana Balaveke headquarters held alongside the party's economic advisor, Professor Prasanna Pereira.
Under this amendment, the reason why a person failed to pay taxes becomes irrelevant. What matters is whether the individual complies after receiving written notice. If compliance is not shown within 30 days, the Inland Revenue Department can initiate criminal proceedings under the Penal Code. In such a case, the Commissioner General of Inland Revenue and other commissioners have the authority to produce the individual before a magistrate's court for punishment. Essentially, this attempts to portray taxpayers and those who are difficult to bring into the tax net as dangerous criminals.
While Professor Prasanna Pereira, economic advisor to the Samagi Jana Balaveke, was addressing the media briefing, Dr. Harsha De Silva participated in several other important discussions during his visit to the United States. Dr. Harsha De Silva held discussions with senior staff at the United States Congressional Budget Office in Washington. The discussions focused on matters relating to a potential week-long visit by officials to the Parliament of Sri Lanka. Views were also exchanged on engagement with the US Congress, as well as on the delayed establishment of a parliamentary budget office in Sri Lanka. Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya has announced that steps will be taken to hand over the Malvana property, including a house previously alleged to belong to Basil Rajapaksa but later found to have no owner, to the University Grants Commission. Now, the Prime Minister made this statement during a meeting held today at the Prime Minister's office with members of the Inter-University Students' Federation. A group of IUSF representatives who had occupied the Malvana residence for several days met the Prime Minister earlier today. During the discussion, the Prime Minister stated that she is ready to listen to the concerns of university students at any time. She also emphasized that decisions must be taken following broad consultation and careful evaluation involving all relevant stakeholders. She informed student representatives that the Malvana land, currently under the Dompe Divisional Secretariat, will be transferred to the University Grants Commission. Following a feasibility study, steps will be taken to utilize the land for appropriate purposes.
We have discussed whether this land should be used to construct a hostel complex along with faculty buildings or to establish a new university. These ideas are still at a discussion stage, and the government has agreed to engage us in the decision-making process. We believe the struggle we carried out has been successful. Accordingly, we have decided to withdraw from the Malvana residence today.
Accordingly, the student representatives vacated the Malvana property by this afternoon.
Early this afternoon, Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya departed for England on an official visit.
Premier departed the island aboard Sri Lankan Airlines flight UL503. During the visit, the Prime Minister is scheduled to participate in a summit of world leaders to be held in London. During the official tour, Premier Harini Amarasuriya is also expected to take part in several high-level academic and diplomatic meetings aimed at strengthening education, development studies, research collaboration and international partnerships. In addition, the Prime Minister is scheduled to hold a special discussion with British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper.
A complaint alleging a loss exceeding 15 billion rupees in coal procurement between 2009 and 2015 was submitted to the Special Presidential Commission appointed to investigate coal transactions. Now, the complaint was lodged by NPP Member of Parliament Dharmapriya Vijay Singha. The Special Presidential Commission of Inquiry was recently established to investigate coal purchasing transactions from 2009 to date and to provide recommendations.
We urge Mujibur Rahman, Sajid Premadasa, S.M. Marika, D.V. Chanaka as well as Champika Ranawaka, who has been speaking out from outside, to immediately come forward and present the facts they previously raised before the Commission. In recent days, they claimed on social media that they would not appear before the Commission and that they had no confidence in it. However, now they are being compelled to come before it. Even then, what are they saying? Champika Ranawaka is presenting unrelated matters, while D.V. Chanaka speaks about ships carrying coal in the sea. If D.V. Chanaka and his associates wish, they can go row those boats. They previously made allegations against the government, claiming fraud within these transactions. We now call on them to present specific evidence to such fraud before the Commission. We will expose the fraudulent activities related to these transactions through this inquiry. From 2009 to 2015, coal purchases for power plants were carried out by bypassing the proper government procurement process and through irregular underhand dealings with companies. Procurement committees were used, appeal boards were used, and even the cabinet functioned in a fraudulent manner, in my view. Therefore, all these matters are relevant to my complaint before the Commission.
A group identifying itself as the People's Joint Opposition held a media briefing at the political party office of Ranil Wickremesinghe on Flower Road in Colombo.
The President recently made a statement in Matale saying that regardless of how high a position a person has held, if they have misused public funds, they must be prepared to face punishment. He also stated that all are equal before the law and that his government operates on that principle. That was highlighted in the Matale statement. It is a noble and commendable idea. However, is that the reality? The actual situation is completely different. What we are witnessing is a process where political opponents are being threatened and detained. This is a narrow, partisan political agenda. The ultimate objective appears to be to create fear across society on an unimaginable scale. The main mechanism being used for this purpose is the Bribery and Corruption Commission. If one complies, there is no issue. But if one resists, severe threats follow. Messages are being directly conveyed to witnesses that they may not remain safe if they do not cooperate with certain expectations. This is the direction in which the system is being pushed.
These are the views expressed by the National People's Power Lawyers Association during a press conference called today.
We have seen teachers being humiliated. Public servants were unable to carry out their duties. We witnessed a school principal being assaulted. At that time, we did not see the law being enforced. We saw teachers being mistreated. We saw individuals storming the Rupavahini Corporation and preventing its operations from being carried out. Yet, we did not witness the law being enforced. The law must be equal for all. There was a time when it was not applied equally. Justice did not flow equally at all levels. At times, people question where the changes are and claim that there are no allegations. But once charges are made and investigations begin, they attempt to evade them. My point is that if there are investigative institutions in this country, whether it is the CID, the Bribery Commission or the Elections Commission, they all function towards investigations. The final outcome of any investigation must be presented before a court of law. Therefore, I believe the public also has a responsibility to resolve these matters within a democratic framework.
එම නිසා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා ජනතාව වගකීමකුත් තිබෙනවා ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදීව අපි විසඳ ගන්න ඕන.
Weather first.
Hashini, let us now turn to the weather outlook for tonight and tomorrow.
Well, Stemin, will rainfall increase once again, or can we expect conditions to ease in the coming days?
Well, for the latest on what to expect, we now turn to Onelka Amaratunga. Onelka?
Yes, thank you, Hashni and Steven. Now in your latest weather update, Sri Lanka has been experiencing heavy rains the past few days, and according to the experts, this was due to the influence of the low pressure area, which is gradually weakening. Now shifting your focus on the upcoming weather conditions, the Department of Meteorology states that further thunder showers can be expected. Accordingly, showers or thunder showers may occur from time to time in the western, Sabaragamu, central, northwestern and northern provinces, as well as in the Galle and Matara districts. The Department of Meteorology also states that fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters can be expected in some places within the western and Sabaragamu provinces and the Galle, Matara, Kandy and Nuwara Eliya districts. Additionally, showers or thunder showers may occur during the afternoon in the Uva and eastern provinces and in the Polonnaruwa district.
The official opening ceremony of the International Training Program on Climate Finance for Banking Professionals was held in Colombo today.
The Institute of Environmental Professionals, Sri Lanka, hosted the opening ceremony of the International Training Program on Climate Finance for Banking Professionals in Colombo today. This 5-day program is designed for senior banking professionals from Nepal, together with selected local participants. Speaking at the event, Chargé d'Affaires of Nepal in Sri Lanka, Vijay Kumar Rao, emphasized on the role of financial institutions to ensure that growth is environmentally responsible, socially inclusive and sustainable for the future generations.
Climate change is no longer a distant environmental concern. It has become one of the defining global challenges of our time, affecting economies, societies, ecosystems, and livelihoods across the world. Developing countries like Nepal and Sri Lanka are particularly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change despite contributing minimally to the global emissions. In this context, climate finance is essential to support the measures to mitigate the climate change. Climate finance has emerged as a critical tool for supporting sustainable development and building resilience.
The program aims to enhance knowledge and capacity in climate finance, sustainable banking practices, environmental and social risk management, and green financial instruments. A MOU between the Banking, Finance and Insurance Institute of Nepal and the Institute of Environmental Professionals, Sri Lanka, was also signed during the event.
Well, Steven, turning our attention to the international arena, the bodies of 4 Italian divers who went missing during a scuba diving accident in the Maldives last week have been located. Now, officials have confirmed that one body belonging to a 5th member of the group had already been recovered following the incident on Thursday.
Well, Ashini, we now have Jamal Ratnayaka to tell us more about this situation. Jamal?
Thank you, Stevin and Hashni, and a very good evening to everyone joining us from home. Like Stevin and Hashni mentioned, tragedy struck off the coast of Maldives after a group of Italian divers went missing while they were scuba diving last week. However, a missing GoPro may provide answers for the families of the scuba divers who lost their lives while in the Maldives exploring caves. It was reported that 5 Italian tourists died after they vanished in the waters of Vahu Atoll. Muriel Ordineno, Gianluca Bendetti and Federico Gualtieri, as well as Monica Montefalconi and her 20-year-old daughter Giorgia Somakal, passed away after they failed to resurface from the dive. Here's a report on the latest from this tragic incident.
According to local authorities, the divers were found inside a cave at a depth of 60 meters in the Vahu Atoll. The discovery was made by a joint team of highly trained Finnish and Maldivian divers. Efforts are underway to recover the bodies. Maldivian government spokesperson Mohammed Hussein Sharif had told the BBC that further dives will be carried out in the coming days to retrieve them. The incident has been described as the worst single diving accident in the Maldives, a nation widely known for its popularity as a tourist destination due to its coral islands. Among the victims, 4 were part of a University of Genoa team, Professor Monica Montefalcon, her daughter Giorgia Somakal, and researchers Muriel Ordinino and Federico Gualtieri. The 5th Italian national who died was Gianluca Benedetti, a boat operations manager and diving instructor. The tragedy also claimed the life of a Maldivian rescue diver. Staff Sergeant Mohammed Mahdi reportedly died on Saturday while participating in search operations. Authorities stated that Mahdi was part of a group of 8 rescue divers deployed to locate the missing individuals. According to Sharif, when the divers resurfaced, they realized that Mahdi had not come up. The team immediately re-entered the water and found him unconscious. It is believed that the 4 newly discovered bodies were located in the same underwater cave where the first body had been found on the day of the accident.
We now direct our attention to the conflict that is ongoing currently in the Middle East. Iran has moved a step further in its attempts to formalize effective control over the Strait of Hormuz after the country's top security organization announced the formation of a new authority. The Supreme National Security Council of Iran says the new Persian Gulf Strait Authority will provide real-time updates on operations and latest developments in the strait. The strait is a critical choke point through which 20% of the world's oil and gas is shipped in peacetime. Here's more and related stories from the area. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson says talks between Iran and the US are ongoing through Pakistan as the mediator, and Tehran and Washington have both sent comments on the recent proposal by Iran. The statement comes following US President Donald Trump's warning to Iran that the quote-unquote clock is ticking as talks to bring the war to an end have stalled.
We received from the Pakistani mediator some reservations and some amendments, which means that after sending our viewpoint to America through Pakistan, we have received some amendments from the United States. We discussed these matters and these things and these amendments, and we have informed them yesterday with our position. We have sent them our viewpoint. This path is ongoing through the Pakistani mediator.
Earlier, US President Donald Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform, quote, "They better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. Time is of the essence," unquote. The message came as the president spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday, according to the Times of Israel, citing Netanyahu's office. The president warned earlier this week that truce was on quote-unquote massive life support after rejecting Tehran's demands, labeling them totally unacceptable. Ismail Baghei, an Iran Foreign Ministry spokesperson, then insisted they were responsible and generous. According to Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency, the Iranian asks include an immediate end to the war on all fronts, a reference to the continued Israeli attacks against Iran-supported Hezbollah in Lebanon, a halt to the US naval blockade of Iranian ports, and guarantees of no further attacks on Iran. The organizers of a flotilla of aid vessels bound for Gaza said earlier today that Israeli forces had intercepted 10 of their boats and that contact had been lost with a total of 23 vessels in the eastern Mediterranean. Earlier in the day, Israel's foreign ministry had said on X that it, quote-unquote, will not allow any breach of the lawful naval blockade on Gaza. Ships from the global Subud flotilla had set sail for a third time on Thursday from southern Turkey after earlier attempts to deliver aid to Gaza were intercepted by Israel in international waters.
We now shift gears to the world of sport.
Well, Sevin, cricket is like a religion in Sri Lanka, and recently a new administration was appointed to Sri Lanka cricket. Well, since then, what has happened?
Well, Hashini, to tell us more, we once again cross over to Jama Ratnayaka. Jama?
Thank you, guys. Yes, as you mentioned, the delegation from the International Cricket Council has arrived in Sri Lanka, marking a significant moment for the game in the country. At a media briefing held earlier today, journalists sought insights on the visit from President's Counsel Upul Kumaraperuma, a member of the Sri Lanka Cricket Transformation Committee.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා හම්බුණා ICC නිලධාරීන් ඇවිල්ලා. මොකක්ද මේ සාකච්ඡාව සාර්ථක සාකච්ඡාවද?
ජනාධිපතිතුමා හම්බෙන්න කලින් මේ ට්‍රාන්ස්ෆෝමේෂන් කමිටි එකත් හම්බුණා. ඒ පැමිණි ICC ආයතනයේ පැමිණි මේ නිලධාරීන් තීරුම් ගත්තා ලංකාවේ ක්‍රිකට් වල ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයට වෙලා තියෙන තත්වය සහ ඒක මේ වෙනත් ආකාරයකට නැවත ගොඩනැගීම සඳහා අරගෙන තියෙන ක්‍රියාමාර්ගය මොකක්ද කියන එක ඒගොල්ලන්ට පැහැදිලි වුණා. ඒ අනුව එතනින් මේ වෙනත් නිෂේධනීය කාරණයක් එතන කතා වුණේ නැහැ.
දූෂිත ක්‍රියාමාර්ග වෙලා තියෙනවා කියලා
නේද? දූෂිත ක්‍රියාමාර්ග නෙවෙයි. දූෂිත ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් තාම විමර්ශනයක්වත් මේ විමර්ශනය කරන්න ඕන කාරණයක් නේ. පරණ මේ විධායක සභාව ඉල්ලාස් වුණා. ඒ අනුව ඉදිරි කටයුතු කර ගැනීම සඳහා අලුත් ව්‍යවස්ථාවක් ගෙන අලුත් පනතක් ගෙන සහ සම්පූර්ණ ට්‍රාන්ස්ෆෝමේෂන් එකක් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රීඩාව තුළ සහ ආයතනය තුළ ඇති කරන්න අමාත්‍යවරයා ගත්ත පියවරක් කියන කාරණය උන්ට පැහැදිලි වුණා.
ඒ සිදුවීම් පරීක්ෂණ පවත්වනවාද ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයේ?
ඔව් පරීක්ෂණ පවත්වන්න නියමිතව තියෙනවා.
Tonight on beautiful Sri Lanka, we take you to a mesmerizing waterfall in Belihuloya.
Only a few meters tall, this particular waterfall is the last one in a series of falls created by the Belihuloya before it streams into the Samanalava reservoir.
Well, Stevin, this is the breathtaking Pahantudava.
Like a sacred lamp lit by nature, this is the wondrous Pahantudava, the sight of the silver stream pouring between rock walls into a turquoise pool shaped like a traditional oil lamp creates a sense of pure enchantment. Blending ancient folklore with natural beauty, you must visit Belihuloya to truly feel the magic of these still waters. For those who love freedom and seek mental peace, Pahantudava is an unforgettable experience. With easy access and a safe environment, its beauty is now open for every traveller to behold.
Beautiful Sri Lanka.
And with that, we wrap up Prime Time News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.